Hytale just revealed what the main menu of the game will look like, along with the minimum specs and hardware that's going to be required to play or stream Hytale in any quality. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the latest and greatest news from Hytale. My name is Chris, welcome back to the CanadianFlash channel, and enjoy the video. Did you know that only 23.3% of people who watch these videos are subscribed to this channel? If you guys are not subscribed, can you please hit that subscribe button? I'm trying to reach 10k before Hytale drops, and it would be greatly appreciated, please. Hytale released the Hytale hardware requirements blog post today, and it talks in depth a lot about the minimum spec requirements that you're going to need to actually run Hytale on Windows. And I've gotten a lot of questions from people saying, will Hytale be on Mac and Linux and all those other operating softwares? And at the moment, the answer is no, but they are trying to get it on Mac and Linux as fast as possible. The very basic minimum specs that you're going to need to play Hytale at 1080p and 30 FPS is a Windows 64-bit, Windows 10 or 11 operating software, a CPU of the Intel Core i5-7500 or equivalent, or an AMD Ryzen 3 1200 or equivalent. So basically, almost any computer can really run Hytale unless you have some ancient box from like 2010 or something. For the GPU, the minimum GPU you can use is Intel Integrated Graphics, the Intel UHD Graphics 620, and the AMD Radeon Vega 3 graphics, so honestly not the greatest graphics cards ever. If you're talking about dedicated graphics cards like, the GT, like the RTX 5060 or 5070, what you're going to need for the minimum specs of Hytale is a NVIDIA GTX 900 series, which is one of the oldest graphics cards you could possibly even buy right now. Same with the AMD Radeon 400 series and an Intel Arc A series. I've personally never heard about that, but either way, that's not that much. You're also going to need around 20 gigabytes of free space, which is honestly a huge breath of fresh air because I've been downloading a lot of games recently and they're in the hundreds of gigabytes, so a game that's only 20 gigabytes is awesome. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive on my computer, so something that would have been over 100 would have literally been 1/20th of my SSD, which would have been nuts. They did say that there are base benchmarking tests with the Intel HD Graphics 630 activated, and you can get around 30 to 40 FPS at 1080p, and that is setting the game to 192 block render distance, which is the smallest render distance that you can have. And just say, for example, you were a streamer or a YouTuber kind of just like myself and want to actually stream or make videos on Hytale, there is a suggested setup that you can also go for. So for example, you're going to need at minimum to record in 1440p and 60 FPS an Intel i7 or equivalent, or an AMD Ryzen 7 3800X for equivalent. You're going to want 32 gigabytes of RAM, which I do have. You're going to want a NVIDIA RTX 30 series or an AMD Radeon RX 700 series, which are pretty pricey graphics cards, I would have to say, but they still are 3 or 4, maybe 5 years old at this point. So they're not going to be the most expensive graphics cards out there because they are quite older. And also it is Cyber Monday today, so maybe if you want to pick up a graphics card, pick one up right now. They said they did do a benchmark test with an AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D. I'd assume that's a good graphics card, not really too sure, and a RTX 5080 with 2 sticks of DDR5 RAM, which is basically one of the best setups you can possibly get. They sustained around 400 FPS in 3840 by 1440, which is honestly some of the best resolution you could possibly have, with a render distance set at 768 blocks, and they were averaging over 400 FPS. I don't even think the eye can see over like 144 or something like that. I forget what it is, but yeah. They said this tier is optional, but helpful for creators who want to scale 60 plus FPS at high resolutions during recording and streaming sessions. They also do share a couple images of the render distance, or the viewing distance. I've been calling it render distance, but it is the viewing distance of Hytale. So they have one of the 192 block distance from a top-down of the Oasis biome, which Simon says looks so much better in the new World Gen that is going to be released very shortly, I hope, or at least teased very shortly. They're going to have a blog post about it coming up. Then there is the exact same screenshot with a 384 block render distance, and these screenshots are really cool. Like I said, I like the Oasis biome. Not really much I can see in the background of these, to be honest. I wish there was like a little bit more I can see. You can see some prefabs, but that's really it. Then there's some in Zone 2 with Zone 1, with 192 block render distance. The next one is 384 blocks. Then it goes from the 768 blocks to what I believe is the farthest we've seen so far of 1024 blocks. And the way that the game loads And I love the little foggy background. It looks super cool. You can see really far. And in this screenshot, you actually have two skeletons. There is an archer skeleton, and there is a skeleton with like a pickaxe or something, which looks pretty cool. It might be an axe, kind of hard to see from this picture. But yeah, I do like, it looks, kind of seems like they changed the way that these skeletons in Zone 1 spawn with their robes. We can still see that they have the Orbis Officer like chest piece on it and all that, but then they have more of a green undergarment under that. And even in this 16-minute gameplay clip, the Zone 1 skeletons had more brown. It was kind of brown on brown. Now it's kind of green on brown, which is pretty cool. And then we can see in like Zone 2 and Zone 3 and in Zone 4, those colors of the undergarments also match the theme of the zone as well, or the color of the zone. For example, Zone 1, like I said, is green. Also on Twitter, Simon did leak what the load-in screen or the main menu screen in Hytale is going to look like. And he did say this is a placeholder for now, so it's going to be subject to change before the game actually drops. But at the moment, it does look pretty cool. So you can see that there is the Hytale logo, obviously. Then there's worlds, minigames, servers, and my avatar, settings, and quit. Obviously, quit's just going to close the game out there. You can see on the top right, there is the player profile, which looks pretty cool. You can see Simon's profile. I guess it's kind of similar to what he looks like in real life. And then there is also a second screenshot. This first one, there's not really anything to look at. I can't really break down anything here. But in the second screenshot, also still has all the same main menu options. But to me, this looks like a Farron camp. I don't know. I would say I don't know why, but like I think I know why. It just kind of screams Farron camp or old rundown settlement or big prefab village that was in Zone 2. The way I think Farron camp is because of like the human skulls or whatever. Because Farrons, they wear skulls and have these like scully armor and all that. So it leads me to believe it has something to do with the Farrons, but it's hard to tell. There's obviously no Farrons in this image, but I do love the armor that the Simon is wearing on here. You can actually see this armor in one of the like curse breaker concept, or the curse breaker concept art, where they have like the 3 tiers of the price of Hytale. So you can see that armor set actually being put into the game, or that robe or whatever being put in the game, and I think it looks super cool. The last bit of news I want to talk about from today is another picture from Simon, of course. He actually released a image of what the Worlds tab in the main menu is going to look like, and you can see there is the Worlds tab here. It says select a world, choose a saved world, or start a new one. There is a testing stuff world, which what looks to be some interesting world gen. I would have to say it looks like that's something in Zone 3. Don't know exactly what they're doing, but I think it looks really cool. There is the Curse Breakers edition of the world, which looks like some sort of dungeon. You can see Varan symbols all over it. I think it looks really cool. Don't know what that statue is or why it's holding this like Viking helmet, but I think it's awesome. Then there is an I Have a Gun lol world. I guess this is kind of this Simon playing around with things. Maybe this is where he got that video of like him shooting up the Quebec village. That would be pretty funny. And then there's this one with do not show this to Reddit, which is kind of interesting, I would have to say. There's a lot of ice dragons or frost dragons as we know them now in them. Yeah, just don't show that to Reddit, honestly, because I think they might not have a fun time with that. But that's really all the news that we got from Hytale today. Honestly, it was a pretty interesting Monday. If you want to check out the blog post, I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. But like I said, in this worlds option, this Cursebreaker one really intrigues me. Like, why is that there? I mean, why is that the header image? And I love the way it looks. If you right click, also you can edit your world, and obviously you can create a new world as well. I would assume that the little block on there means it's like a creative world, and maybe there'll be a different world for the adventure mode. I'm not really too sure, but I think that's pretty cool. But that being said, let me know what you guys think about all the Hytale news today. What was your favorite part of the Hytale news? And with that being said, see you guys. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite part of the Hytale news was today. And with that being said, see you guys in the next one.